We are delighted to have Financial Planning Matters as our official podcast sponsor. To those that don't know, Financial Planning Matters help individuals secure their financial future. The company is led by a great friend of ours, Niall O'Connor, who is also a UEFA B licensed coach as well, familiar within that football space. Niall has helped me personally secure my financial future by allowing me to get a good understanding of my money management. A couple of small things where he helped me improve were understanding where to put money into specific investments, how to save for my retirement, and as well as that, small little tips and tricks like having an emergency fund and how to budget correctly for those longer term payments. If you want to get in contact with Niall and the team about your financial future, you can reach out to them directly at www.fpms.ie. I was going to say, Jeff, we typically do like an intro after, but I think a good place to start would be with you actually introducing what your role is, because there's only so much I can get from the internet, and it's much better coming from your own words. So I think a good place to start would be to go through what your role is, a little bit on your background, and then I think that'd be just a good stepping stone to kick into some conversation.
Yeah, no worries. So the day-to-day, I suppose, day job is coach development manager with Special Olympics International. So that involves working with, we've 7 regions around the world. That's how we've broken up kind of the world. We break it into 7 regions. So like you'd get in like UEFA's Europe, for example, like we'd break it up into Europe. We have Middle East, North Africa, we have Africa, East Asia, Asia Pacific, North America, Latin America. So that's just how we break up the world. So we work with the regional sports directors from each region to try and build out or develop their coach development systems. So as it is anywhere else in the world, each country is different, let alone each region, in terms of what they need when it comes to coach development, coach education. So we work with them just to try and make it as accessible as possible. So most of that is around Special Olympics content itself. So educating people around, coaching athletes that have intellectual disabilities. So that's probably a good place to start, actually. Special Olympics is a sports organization for people with intellectual disabilities. So it's different to like Paralympics, which is an elite level sports organization for people with all sorts of disabilities. So physical, intellectual falls into that as well, into like a smaller category, which is called virtues. So some of that will be in the Paralympics as well. But it's mostly on the physical disability side of things. And then obviously the Olympics is what we've just witnessed the last like few weeks. That's just elite level sport. So ours is definitely more grassroots, but we have kind of like these mainstream events that you'd have, same as the Olympics, and we have a summer games which we had last year in Berlin. So same thing, 22, 23 sports all hosted in and around the Olympic Stadium and city centre in Berlin, like was done in Paris this year for the Olympics. We used the Olympic Stadium for our opening ceremony, 70,000 people there, all the athletes coming in, doing the parade around the stadium and all. Unbelievable. Like that, I'm there 5 years now. That was my first World Games, and incredible to see. Insane. We also host like single sport events. So for example, we do something called the Unified Cup. So that's basically our World Cup for football. So it's 11v11 men and 7v7 women. But the unique thing on it is that it's unified football. So unified is people with and without intellectual disabilities playing together on a team. And they have to be of equal ability level. And there has to be this thing called meaningful involvement. So all the players must be of like similar ability level. Everyone must contribute. You can't have players dominating. Now naturally you have different ability levels when it comes, as you would in any team. You have players that are going to be stronger or weaker, but you can't have someone just takes the ball off the keeper, runs the pitch, scores a goal, and that's it. Like, so it's all, but it's like the Unified Cup will be really high level in terms of quality. Like we brought in, it was COVID time, so it was kind of difficult as well, but we had it in Detroit back in 2022, and we brought in 22 different countries from around the world, all came in. You had Jamaica won it, you had Paraguay, Brazil, and like some of the players, the quality is unbelievable. And I'm talking across the board, not just those without intellectual disabilities, but the lads that had them as well, and the women as well. So it's that's a bit of background, I suppose, and what we do. We do that in basketball, 3x3, we do it in tennis, triathlon, stuff like that as well. We have all these individual sport competitions. So my job is working with the regions on that. We do some coach development opportunities as well. So we do kind of a informal, non-formal and formal types of coach education. So the formal would obviously be your coaching courses, like as you'd have, most of ours are online, but depending on the program, which is like a country, that would be, some of them do it in person, some do mixed. So we work on those. Just launched a new online learning portal there now as well. So all those should be a little bit more enhanced than what they were before. The informal, non-formal stuff would be like webinars. So each year we do a webinar series specifically for coaches and around coach education. So we bring in experts from within and outside of Special Olympics. So we try to bring in like academics. We bring in leading coaches from different organizations. This year we're trying to bring in kind of like a blend of both, if you like. That's going to be later on in the year, probably around December sort of time. So we haven't finalized anything for that yet, but we try to bring in like a good blend. We'll focus on a topic, so it could be like coach athlete relationship, something like that. And we got Professor Sophia Jowett in, who, you know, she kind of founded that area of the coach athlete relationship in terms of academia. So she came in and spoke on that. And then we had like kind of a more practical side of it from a Special Olympics point of view, where we had coaches come in and talk about their experience of it and how they work with it, just to try and open coaches up to new ideas and things that they mightn't have heard of before. And then we do a few other bits, kind of like mentoring, and we're exploring a few other areas like that where we can try and bring coaches on, develop them a bit more in different areas that they might not be familiar with. That's a bit on the roll. I do a lot of football development as well. That's kind of a newer area that I focused on this year. So between our work is mostly like grant based, so we get a funder, and then what we'll do is we'll kind of come up with a project and a strategy to work with that funder to develop a specific area. So for example, we got funding there from Nike last year to go and build out female unified football. So the whole idea of unified is obviously to make things more inclusive and make the world a more accessible place for people with disabilities. And the female game is, you know, it lacks behind anyway in terms of participation numbers in mainstream football, let alone females with intellectual disabilities. So we're, in our census numbers, I think it's about 25% is female participation in football. So that's one of our strategic goals now, is to try and grow that. So obviously with my background in football, I was kind of tasked with that. So with the Nike funding, we identified 5 programs around the world, 2 in Africa, 2 in Latin America, and 1 in Europe. And with that, we granted them out funding. We worked with them then to build out like league structures and league competitions to provide more opportunities for female players with and without intellectual disabilities to train more often, compete more often, because sometimes you see it where they train for 8, 10, 12 weeks, go to one competition over a weekend, that's it. You know, that's it, done. That's the kind of period done. So I want to try and make that a bit more consistent, provide more opportunities for it. And so we worked on that. With that, there was like coach education elements where we educated on the unified side, on the Special Olympics side, and then with the federation as well, we tried to engage. So Kenya was on those programs that we worked with, and we're working with the Kenyan Football Federation now to educate, I think it's about 20 coaches, male and female, but obviously with a focus on trying to grow female coach participation as well, to try and be that role model element and bring more women and girls into Special Olympics and into football. So that's one element of the football development that we're doing, building out like a global strategy at the moment. So trying to work with the federations around the world to try and grow that. So good relationship with UEFA, and that's managed by like our European region, and CONMEBOL now as well, which is obviously South America. They've come in a big support, and again our Latin America region is managing that. But we're trying to grow that now and work with the other confederations around the world.
You work with all the regions, so internationally.
Yeah.
So would that be you then in terms of like delivering coach out, like you mentioned there, take Kenya as an example. How does that look in terms of you guys delivering coach out? Like, is it you guys actually go in and do it, or what kind of process do you do there?
No, so we try and help build out the system. So it's not a case of us going into a country to deliver a coach workshop or whatever it is and then just leave. We don't have the context of things. So what we'll do is work with the region. So Africa, for example, we'll work with them to build out their coach development system as a whole for the whole region. Say 41 programs. We'll build out a coach development system with them for the region, and then each program will build their system off that. So whatever the context is for them. So Kenya is obviously, it's a big developed country in Africa in terms of like GDP and access that they have to infrastructure. I was over there in March myself, and like we're 3 hours outside Nairobi heading for in the sticks, and there's lads digging up the side of the road, and I'm asking the fella driving what are they doing there? And he said, they're laying fibre. So people's conceptions that they don't have access to things isn't necessary. It's not what you'd really think.
Yeah.
So they do have access to it, and like data's obviously a big thing over there as well. But that's Kenya, and then you go to somewhere completely different, even South Africa, for example, which will be seen as quite a developed country over there, has rolling blackouts of power, Wi-Fi issues. What they're doing is they're giving coaches grants, micro grants from the program to coaches to buy data to do courses on their phones,
Wow.
So that's what they're doing in terms of access to coach ed, and that's obviously a challenge in terms of everyone's trying to digitize what they're doing. Everything is seen to be, if it's not online, what is it like?
Yeah.
And I think for us anyway, it's quite an eye opener in terms of accessibility of information isn't necessarily the ease that we think it is, where you just go and you Google it and you watch a video or you do a course. It's actually getting access to that in the first place is going to be a challenge. So that's just one element of it where we're trying to figure out what's the best way to approach things, and it's different everywhere. That's Asia Pacific is another one that we see massive diversity in it in terms of what needs to be done. Like you look at Asia Pacific and you see Australia and New Zealand, developed countries. Look at the medal table in the Olympics there. Both of them are up there, top 15, top 20. And then you look at, what's closest to them is Pacific Islands, and there's Nauru is, struggling they've one boat a week that goes to the main island, and then they go from getting island, or when they get to the island, there's one flight a week that goes to Australia and New Zealand, and they need to do that to do a coaching course. There's no Wi-Fi or anything like that there. So, these are the things that you're dealing with in terms of how do you access that coach that you're trying to figure out. So it's it's not a case of us just flying around delivering. That was probably an old model of what Special Olympics would have done. They would have had people around the world that would have flown in, delivered a course to 50 or 100 coaches, and then flown out again. The coaches are kind of left with the program to
instantly. That's what I thought, and then because my next question is gonna be things like language barrier, obviously cultural barriers, things like that. But it probably was the old school way of doing it. But whereas what you're saying, you're nearly giving the system and then hoping that with the right people in place,
we're just kind of facilitating things. Really, is what we're trying to do anyway. And like that, we don't know the cultural context of things in terms of what programs have, what programs need, and then go down another level, what the coach needs, what facilities they're working in, what equipment they have, what access they have to the players. There was a story there of one of the athletes in Kenya travels 400 kilometers or something to training, just to train, and 400 kilometers back.
Scale is huge. You feel when you're living in Ireland's just a small country, whereas countries like Kenya, there's a massive difference between
are massive, I presume.
Kenya is
huge,
yeah. But even the difference between
Can I catch you on something? Dylan Hennessy called me out on this. Apparently there is a basketball World Cup
Oh, is there?
Yeah, and I said that wasn't on camera. Sorry, Dylan.
Is that what was it? Was it to do with Kenya?
I don't know why.
You just wanted to say it because you would have forgot it. Oh, that's
It
fair
would have
enough.
been cancelled for propaganda or for spreading misinformation.
Oh,
so sorry,
that's
back to
fair
Kenya.
enough. But on the Kenyan side of things, like there's a massive difference between like the bush in Kenya, like even like the wildlife reserves versus like the developed towns. And I was only having this conversation with somebody a couple of days ago. Like when I was growing up, the only like media I saw of Africa was like trochra campaigns, for example. So I still have that like naivety of, as soon as I think of like Africa, even like the developed places like in Lagos, even for example in Nigeria, I don't think about like the bustling economics that are there. Like I just think about what I was programmed as a child, which is ridiculous.
Well,
Like
it's
when you
just what
think
you're
about it.
exposed to. Like it's what
Yeah.
it's what you see is what you interpret as what it's all like. And,
Yeah.
like I'm obviously there are areas like that. I haven't seen them. Like from what I saw, they're it's an amazing place. The most welcoming people as well that
Yeah.
I've ever met. Like unbelievable.
Yeah.
The hospitality is incredible.
I'd say so. And I just want to get my head around a couple of things. It's such an interesting role. So you're sitting primarily as a facilitator for the Special Olympics for all 7 regions.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the oversight. And your goal is really to put in facilities and infrastructure to make sure that coach education and accessibility to good systems is there for all regions to increase participation. And that's really what your big strategic goal is. It's a participation goal, is it?
Yeah, pretty much. So, like, the goal of Special Olympics is, or like the mission is to provide year-round sport opportunities for people with intellectual disabilities, like
Okay,
Olympic style sport opportunities. So, overall, like I think we've over 40 something sports that are offered, across the board. Obviously at the World Games that's narrowed down to, I think we're gonna have 22 at the next World Games, but then we have the winter sports as well. Participation in terms of the same opportunities that you or I had growing up, where you can go around the corner and play football, or you can go down the road and play tennis, or you can go up there and play golf. Like the only barriers to that really was primarily us, or like transport to it, or paying fees or whatever. But we could still do it if we really wanted to. Well, people with intellectual disabilities and disabilities in general don't have that same sort of ease of accessibility. So the mission that we have is just to provide that and really, make sport what it's supposed to do in terms of breaking down barriers and use it as a means of inclusivity.
And region wide, so out of all the 7 regions, is there one common barrier to entry for intellectually disabled people to access sports? Or is it culturally different?
It is culturally different, yeah. Like everywhere you go, things are going to be different. Like infrastructure wise, some people with intellectual disabilities could be in like a home sort of thing. It depends on what it is. We're seeing now people like countries going down that more integrated route where schools have mixed groups and all that. So it depends where it is. But I think like the barriers that were probably there, 20, 30 years ago are still probably the main ones. Like just misconceptions about it. Like people don't really understand, like, oh, how do I talk to her? Like, how do I talk to him in terms of, it's not the same as me talking to my brother here. And, like I think that's what I would see as the main barrier. Now, I don't have like evidence to back it up, but I think people just kind of have these misconceptions. But, it's the same as what you do with anyone. You just have your conversation, you strike up, the same sort of commonalities and interests that we'd have. It's the same there.
I was going to ask then, is coach education, is it much different to the coach ed you would get in like mainstream, I suppose, sports or sport education? Should I say sport education?
I wouldn't say.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's much different now, to be honest. Like a lot of our stuff is based around that understanding of the person, understanding what their needs are, understanding the space that you need to give, how to communicate, but it's not different. Like fundamentally, it's the same things that all coaches have. But I think you find like if you ask most coaches in Special Olympics, they'll probably say if they've come from a sport background and gone into Special Olympics as a coach, they'll say they're a better coach from being in Special Olympics because they now have these more like interpersonal skills. They have that better understanding.
Probably more empathetic or more better reading what people need, I suppose. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And even things like adaptability. Like as a coach, you have to be adaptable. Like I think everyone agrees with that. But in terms of your adaptability, when you have a group of, 12, 15 footballers, all with like drastically different needs. Like usually you have a group, there'll be some sort of common ground and things, but you can have like a group that has completely different needs, different attention spans, obviously. Like again, common things that you're going to come across in a mainstream group as well. I think people just find themselves a bit more adaptable from it in terms of what they need to do. I think it also helps that like you become more open to asking for assistance, and that could be from family members, it could be from friends, it could be from other coaches.
You find the coach is more...
The coach is more open to it. You know how some coaches like a bit of control on things, that it's my session, I'm going to do it this way. But it might just be a case of, right, maybe we actually need to split this group a bit. Will you work with them on that? You work with them on that. And I'll work with this group here. Because maybe you just kind of have to group them together a little bit just to do things. And ultimately when you get to your match and stuff at the end. But in terms of like general principles when it comes to coaching, it's all the same that you'd see in any other coach ed. It probably is just a bit more heightened on those fundamentals around communication, relationship building,
which is probably what gets lost though in coach any of the coach ed we would have done, like we've obviously all done like FAI and UEFA ones. Is I know naturally there is that side of it, but a lot of it then is about the coach detail, this, that, and the other, and you nearly sometimes, that's what they say now, football's gone too far that way in terms of the tactical side of things, whereas like that the fundamentals are being adaptable. Can you communicate? What does the player or person need in that moment? How should you communicate with them? So it's interesting.
Like you said on the empathy piece as well. I think that's particularly at like high level sport, like adult, professional level or semi-professional, whatever it is. Like I think there's very little empathy now, and then you're seeing that creeping into obviously like underage football as well. I think the empathy side of it is... I think
that kills particularly football at this minute is the short-termism, as in like I think there's like, if you go get a managerial job in Championship, League 1, League 2, 9 months is what you average, so you're kind of like, they don't even have time to do anything.
Exactly. Look, what was Rooney in Birmingham for? Like 17... No, it wasn't 17 days. It was short. Like,
it was like 5, 6
Darren,
weeks
pull that up.
Pull that up, Jamie.
Because that was like shorter than
I'm gonna say
like that was
5 weeks or so. I feel like it was a month, 30 days.
I think you are right there, Gary. I think it is a 9-month average stint. It's not even like a full season is 10 months, isn't it? So it's a little bit less.
Do you want to get your guesses in?
I think 30 days.
83 days.
83. It's still...
That's not 3 months.
It's not even 3 months.
That's what I mean. So like the more short-term football gets, and you can't blame managers this because it's their livelihood. They have to go in and get results to keep a job. Naturally, the empathy thing is going to slip down because it's how can I affect the team for this week? Right, Jeff's out, Gary's in. Like, and they don't care about not through any fault of their own. It's just the way football, as an example, is going.
Yeah. I always get the impression, especially talking to the pros this year, like there seems to be very little connection between player and staff anywhere. Like from manager to S&C coach to physio, it's like no one trusts each other. There's just zero empathy towards each other.
Because some of them know they've had 3 managers last year. So
I know,
there's no point in even getting to know this one.
Yeah,
it's sad.
Sometimes it's ingrained the other way around, though, isn't it? Like a manager will kind of come in and say, "Keep your distance."
Yeah.
It obviously depends on the person, but I think you're seeing what clubs are doing now is they're keeping like core staff. So I think it was United this year when Ineos came in, they've kept like their core staff in terms of like physios, performance analysts, S&C coaches, stuff like that. They've brought in a few to like bring it up a level, but they've changed. They went and obviously changed the backroom staff.
Yeah.
Brought in like Van Nistelrooy and got rid of the goalkeeper coach. And
they brought the other coach they brought in is, I can't remember his name. He's very good. Rennie Haig.
Yeah. And so like they made some fundamental changes kind of at the forefront of the coaching staff, but they're keeping the background because I think that's what, like your physios, your S&C coaches, your performance analysts, like they probably work day to day as close with the players as possible. Like they're probably spend the most time with the players on an individual basis in terms of going through their analysis, doing their rehab, whatever, the strength training or recovery, whatever it is. Like, so it's of their benefit to then keep those people around to the players because they trust them already. rather than a manager leaving and then having to replace all them again.
On your side, Jeff, if your department doesn't hit certain KPIs, is there a risk to your role?
To a point, I mean, like, because we're kind of like funder driven, if we're not meeting what the funders want, then they don't provide the funds anymore, and then there's no fund for my role. Like, so that's you know, to an element, yeah, like that's the thing. Obviously, we've like metrics and numbers that we want to hit in terms of growth and everything like that, but that kind of filters up from the programs to the regions to us. So it's not like we have exact control over how many coaches we'll train per year. But what we'll do is try and identify funding our projects or programs or whatever it might be to try and achieve that as best possible. But obviously, with like quality, we're not going out just to knock out numbers just for the sake of it, for like a census thing.
Yeah.
We're really going down like the quality route and gone very data driven the last few years as well.
Like all businesses
exactly, yeah. Like there's more there. We're gathering more. Big data team in there now in terms of how we're using it and how we're interpreting it and all that. So
you've a whole team of data analysts that will literally curate and cut up and give you reports back on what's going on.
Yeah, pretty much. And it might not be on specific projects that we're working on. That's kind of what we'll do. We'll work off the metrics that they get. But when it comes to like census data or anything like that, there's teams behind that that'll cut it up and break it down for us, and you know, as everyone does, put it into a dashboard and you go and
away you go.
As,
just using different softwares. I had one question. So you were talking about the different sports that are across, even like on the Special Olympics, the actual like summer games, for example. Are you building out coach education foundations for every single sport, or is this specifically just for the football element?
No, so my role in the football development is kind of like, that's a side piece, if you like, on
just part
on
of
my
your
role. Yeah. But what we do in terms of sport specific is we work with the federations. So take cycling, for example, right? We have an amazing relationship with the UCI, which is the International Federation for Cycling. And what we're doing with them is working on providing opportunities for Special Olympics coaches to access their coach education system. So there starts with an online level 1. And this year we ran a pilot then with 10 coaches from Europe, Latin America, and Asia Pacific, where they took that level 1, and what we did was we got them all to provide us with feedback as they went through each section of it in terms of, you know, what's missing from a Special Olympics coach's point of view. So you're reading through this, like, firstly, like, visually, would this relate to Special Olympics? Then, right?
Busy man.
Busy man, yeah. Someone giving out to me.
That's all right.
Does it what reference does it have to you as a Special Olympics cycling coach? You know, is there anything there? What isn't relevant? What's missing? Mm-hmm. What do you think was useful? So we got feedback on every section of the course related to that. We also had a coach. She sits on our board as well, but she's a cycling coach and a swimming coach who has intellectual disabilities. So she did the course as well from her perspective. So she's a coach with intellectual disabilities. And we got everything from her side as well.
Fascinating.
So simple things like the colours of the text. She reads text better in purple at a bigger font size. Just for her, that's what she, you know, interprets better. And she wasn't able to change the font size. She couldn't change the colour of it.
No customization. So it really wasn't like fully accessible for her. So it got to a stage that her mother was reading the text out to her and she had to interpret it that way, which she said herself wasn't the strongest way for her to learn. So interesting things like that. But what's amazing about working with the federation is that they've completely taken all that on board, and they want to help then to, you know, adapt the course or adapt the delivery of the course to try and make it accessible to everyone. You know, maybe include pictures of athletes with intellectual disabilities that are at competitions and training. And you know, that we did like pre-course like workshop sort of thing, like a Zoom meeting with everyone. We did one in the middle and then we did one at the end, and the federation were involved in all of those as well. So they really took the information on board and just spoke with the coaches directly and got what it was. So our plan is to continue to roll out
pilots like that with different sports. So we work closely with a lot of federations, and we're trying to build that now as well. Like we have some members of my team would be sport specific. So we've one woman that works on badminton and athletics, like specifically, and then we just have a new lad in now who does golf and swimming are his two sports. So he'll continue to do that. I obviously work on the football side of things then as well, and we're looking to really go down that route of trying to build relationships with the federations and get access to their certifications and, you know, their pathways, because we want our coaches to be knowledgeable of the sport. So we kind of find that our coaches come in three different sort of profiles. You have the coach who comes from the sport, so they have really good sport knowledge, but don't have the Special Olympics knowledge. So they come in and they struggle with that kind of interpersonal skill element of things. And then you have the coaches that have the Special Olympics knowledge, don't have the sport. So they're really good on the personal side of things. Yeah, exactly. Working with the athletes, knowing what they want, being able, like, really adaptable. But then when it comes to the sport specific side of things, they really struggle in terms of like the key information that they're going to give, like the information that you'd give in your sessions, really technical, really to the point, detailed of what needs to be done. And they just don't have that. Like, it's not their background. They might have never played or seen or coached the sport before, but they're doing it because their child, their friend's child, their cousin, whatever it is who's involved, why they got involved, wants to play the sport. So then you have kind of that third profile where you have a coach that has the Special Olympics background and the sport background, and we kind of blend them together well. And, you know, that's probably the best scenario you could get, really, if you have that blend of both. You get the understanding, and it's but it's a challenge that you know, trying to get people actually access to the sport specific side of things is definitely a challenge for you know yourself, like coach ed can be expensive. It can be difficult to
say
access.
that when you mentioned that cycling level one, that would have been like from the what was it called, the
UCI.
So that's the one they would deliver.
Yeah, to every coach that's starting out.
So
on their
if
pathway.
you were to if that was to then get redelivered to somebody specialising in Special Olympics coaching, that then be tailored to make it more, for example, customizable, where whoever's interpreting it can change? That should be a cool idea, wouldn't it, for a coach education thing? Like, imagine you as the person viewing it as the coach, you could edit it as you're like learning it, if that makes, as you're seeing it.
Are you talking about the actual,
like the actual
coach?
No, sorry, as in, like, let's say
The educator.
No, the participant on the course. Like,
Yeah.
it'd be cool. Like, is that like something you could do where you like
it's something we're actually
you would
looking at,
redeliver it? You would take that course and
tailor the delivery to
what from the feedback you got. You would tailor it then for more suited to a Special Olympics coach.
Yeah. To a point, like that's obviously what you do in an ideal world. Like it's hard to tailor things to every individual person and like background, like we talked about earlier, in terms of like context of where people are from and everything. But it's that would be the ideal if you could make it that little bit more
like interactive now, so you can like
exactly. And look, this one's a fully online course, so it is hard to do that. Like, obviously now online learning has developed so much that has these kind of like pathways that you can go. If you click this button, you go down that way, and if you click that one, you go the other way, and you focus on different areas. But trying to make it as, you know, accessible as possible to everyone, probably difficult. It's a lot of time and money goes into that. But like, I think that's kind of what this whole coach development ecosystem that's developing globally is trying to do. It's trying to make it as like individualized to the person as possible. So, you know, if you want to go and like, just take yourselves for example, you want to go and do your elite youth day, right? You're doing that. So you're doing that, and just say for example, right, I want to do that and I want to focus on academy players, but I want to have some sort of piece to it that's more performance analysis based, right? The idea now is that you'll have the option of going and doing all these performance analysis modules, because maybe you don't want to be that coach that's out on the pitch. You want to be more on the analysis side of things, and then create the sessions off that and plan your sessions that way. Then the idea would be that you can go and focus on 2, 3, 4 modules around that performance analysis piece into the planning side of it, and then the delivery on the pitch, while Gary, you might want to be that on the pitch coach and really work on the technical, tactical side of things, and you'll be able to go and do those modules that are focused on that. And I think that's the way things are going, particularly with like the coach development side of things isn't necessarily your traditional formal coach ed course where you just follow the curriculum and that's it. Like you get your guest lectures in or whatever and you do that. Like it's very much that like social element to it, the group work, mentorship, like having someone there that's kind of guiding you through it and asking questions. And I don't think it has to be the same person either. I think you can have like multiple mentors then as well, and on that side of things where you can actually go in and say you wanted something on the interpersonal side of things, and I'm like, right, I know a coach who's unbelievable, Special Olympics coach. You know, he's not coaching at the high national league level or professional level, but on the interpersonal side of things, the best I've seen. You might go in, chat with them, and then say he wants to talk about more of the technical, tactical side of things. I can send to you or Gary or whoever. And I think that's the way things are starting to go now, rather than just the tick the box course side of things.
Yeah, because courses always lack depth, I found. Definitely. It was very much like one size fits all. But you never play football with one size fits all or coach at one size fits all. So why would you put coach in the same bracket as well? But I do appreciate it's quite difficult, especially even for specialized sports with football, for example. Like everything's just a battle for resources. Like even, for example, like you guys are working off grants and funding. We all know about the FAI's financial challenges. Like it's very well documented and written. Like trying to actually build out adaptable courses is so difficult for even for you guys to do. Like, can I make this accessible? And at the same time, can I make it like accessible to the point where fonts and colors are accessible, but also that there's sub modules as well that people can tackle? And my question really is, like, do you even envision that's going to be possible for all the separate regions, even on like a localization basis as well? Because like it's not in their native language more so as well. Like how are you guys going to tackle that aspect?
Yeah, and that's it. Like you hit the nail on the head there. The main element of like online learning and stuff like that is surface level. It's just hitting the information that people kind of need to get a background on it. And that's where I was saying like this kind of mentorship piece comes in. Then I think the practical experience is the biggest thing that people need. Like there's so many coaches that will go and like do a course or whatever and say, oh yeah, you know, I have this certificate now, but let me go do the next one. I'll do the next one. But how much time are they actually spending like on the pitch or in the pool or in the gym or whatever it is? Like, so I think that's where like the practical element of things come in. And I think there's also an element the coaches need to like do the work themselves. Like, you know, if you want to find out information about something, go Google it, go reach out to someone who's an expert or knowledgeable in that area as well. I don't think you can have everything kind of like handed to you either, and I think that's an important piece as well. Like
it is, yeah. You got to go down rabbit holes.
Yeah, but I think you need to like obviously try and be aware and be open to people kind of telling you areas that you need to focus on. Some people might be a little bit, you know, withdrawn on things. Yeah. If I said to you, Gary, like, you know, you're not too good in the old tactical side of things there now. Yeah,
My head's gone.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. Like you might kind of say, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, you know, I'm grand on that. I don't need to go and do anything about it. But it might just be a case of, you know, reaching out to someone and saying, "Oh, would you mind, you know, showing me what you did there?" Or like the someone that does it really well is the FA in England. Like they've gone down this coach developer route. So they've coach developers in each county FA, like multiple coach developers, and they'll like go around the clubs working with the coaches on like specific goals. Like you know on the FAI courses they tell you to have like those pigs personal improvement goals. They'll do that, but like regularly. It's not just you're doing the course and you get 1 or 2 visits from your tutor on the course. It's
all
like
down to resources, isn't it? They can actually pay people to do them.
Full-time job going around being a coach developer. Unbelievable. Dream job, like all in football as well. But like that's a massive one. And they have this FA learning platform as well.
Theirs
which
is very good, like on Twitter as well. They're very good.
Yeah.
with, just all that kind of
videos
stuff.
and everything like that. So
Yeah, taking huge strides. Even FIFA have an excellent repository
FIFA
for.
learning.
Yeah.
It's a great repository, and it's so accessible.
Yeah.
As we were talking about, like, and it's offered in like 4 different languages.
And that's the big thing now. Look, we're getting to a stage, obviously, with like AI and everything, where translation stuff is obviously becoming easier, but it's still not
Big time.
the same. Like as if something is produced in
He's
your own.
smiling because I came from that background of
Used to work in a translation.
machine translation. Yeah, and it's taken massive strides. It's definitely gonna. That's one thing I liked about that job. Like, it's definitely gonna open up a lot of avenues for people who can't access content, because even like with what the large language models are doing, people can just translate anything they want, and it's to a decent standard. And then even like a further lever on from that as well is like you can build custom software with AI, like even on GPT, and that would be even interesting. Like if you can just integrate that into different webinars and systems of accessibility, because it might just be like an AI model that just allows you to change the font easily or whatever. It could, like, some of the shit you can do with like images and videos. Someone out there
Wild.
is miles ahead of us.
Actually, one of the funniest AI ones I've seen in a while. It was if only it happened like this, and it's Trent putting the ball down for the corner for the corner taking quick whips into Origi, but someone's edited it so that as he's walking away, he keeps walking away. Like, it's
some
ridiculous.
of them are really scary.
I was at the Morgan, I was like, this is ridiculous.
Did Morgan counter strike you and send another video to you? Because he was showing me these ones about like the famous memes or the famous vines that just like keep going. So like, do you know when your man gets hit in the head with the basketball and he goes, yeah, and then like he just like looks up and there's just a big shadow person over him. I was like, what the hell? It's real trippy
freaky,
because you picture that video as like a start and a finish, and then because now you've seen this new scene of it, it's like, oh, I don't like this. I can't comprehend
it's ridiculous.
it. Yeah, and then like just the power of that. Like people use it for shit like that, and then some people are able to
Actually
build
usefully.
custom software for people that actually need it. You know, it's absolutely crazy. It's interesting. A lot of people say that you can't work in sport here for resources, but you've obviously found an excellent role within coach education. How does a role like that even come about? Like, how did you even find a role like that that's open?
You do Australian after the Masters?
I did sports management in UCD, the undergrad, and then I went straight into the coaching science masters. So, like this dickhead. How I ended up, unfortunately, coming across this fella.
Yeah.
But
I forgot you went to college together.
yeah, it wasn't just UCD. But my plan was to, I'm not used like the club, not the college. But, my plan was to go into like performance analysis. That was my kind of goal. Go over coaching the UK or over in the US or something like that. Which is why I was doing the coaching science masters, just to kind of get a bit of a background on it.
Yeah.
And we just got an email, I think, off one of the lecturers just saying, I was working at Ford, like I was driving cars around as I was doing my dissertation. Got an email saying Special Olympics looking for a part-time intern, 20 hours a week, something like that, in coach education. Thought, you know what, that's outside my comfort zone. Like, that's not something I ever would have thought I would have worked in. So I thought I'll throw in CV or whatever, and I actually got in on the last day. I was on holidays in Greece when I got the email being like, will you come in for an interview on these days? And I was like this, I literally just landed in Athens to start the holiday. It was like a 2-week or 20-day holiday or something.
20.
Yeah, I was a mad one. But just going to, they were like, oh, you come in on this day for an interview, and I was like, oh, I'm only back. Like I emailed back, I'm only back this day, and my boss was like, oh, that's the last day. Like I have to pick someone on that day. I have to have my decision made. So I said, right, I'll be there first thing in the morning. Went to the interview, went straight back into work. Like I literally landed the night before. I landed about midnight the night before. Went to the interview at 8:30 or 9 o'clock the next morning, and got a call about lunchtime to say that I got the job. So went in, it was 20 hours a week. Just it started off. I did like, we have coaching guides for each sport, which is kind of like the older model of coach ed that we would have had, where each sport has a coaching guide, just goes through kind of like fundamentals of the sport or whatever. So I was tasked with doing the football one, obviously with just the background that I had, and I was doing that. I was doing some e-learning courses, things like that, really just to help out with what needed to be done. And COVID hit, so kept going 20 hours a week, and then eventually they the work kind of kept creeping up in terms of what needed to be done, so turned into a full-time role then over COVID, and 5 years later still here.
Yeah, like 5 years is a long tenure at a sporting organization, which is really, really good. Do you miss having the time to actually be, getting a grip on like football at the club level? Like, do you miss anything in that aspect?
I think I still had it, to be honest. Like I went straight from, well, like kind of when we finished in UCD, so that was
2019 we graduated, didn't we, that November?
Yeah.
Because I remember it was like that, and then like 3 months later it was COVID.
Yeah, everything was locked down. So
we would have finished that May.
Yeah.
Or, sorry, all
we finished
September.
out that season. Obviously there was the gap with the 17s. We finished out the season. So it must have been 2020. We finished out that season, I think, didn't we? And then obviously Rob left, so I left as well. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll take a break from football for a bit, try and relax and enjoy my 20s or whatever. And then about a month in, I was like, I'm so bored. What am I going to do? So there was a role up in Francis, that small-sided director. So I knew Simon Madden, who was the director of football up there, from coaching in the SDFL years ago, and just got in touch with him, and he asked would I be interested in it. I said yeah, so I went up and met him and had a walk around the club. Obviously unreal facilities and everything up there as well.
Beautiful.
One of the best setups
it is,
you'll
it's
find,
excellent.
like. And met some of the committee and stuff like that, so ended up in that role. And I was doing my 40-50 hours a week in work, and then I was going doing my 20-30 hours a week with Francis, and in the evenings and on the weekends. And I don't think the job really stopped me from doing that. Obviously as the job developed and I got more responsibility and stuff, then I had to step away from that role as the travel and everything came. But I stayed in then, finishing it out as just a volunteer coach, if you like, with the 17s last year. And then I just found that because I travel so much in my role, or like we're a US based company, so I could have calls and meetings and stuff in the evenings, and sometimes that was clashing with sessions. Now it usually wouldn't, like we're very good in terms of that, not interrupting your schedule. Like if we want to finish at 5, we can do that, but you give and take with it,
Of course.
and I just found that being one of 2 coaches and being away a lot, because I could be away for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, or multiple trips
It's
over
a lot
a
to
month.
put on the other person, isn't
Exactly,
it?
yeah. So you're leaving him. Well, from a playing perspective, if you're one of 20 and you're away, it's not as big a hit on the squad as it would be if you're leaving one person alone to do a lot of it. So that was the only reason that I stepped away from it, really. And I suppose the job obviously ultimately did have an impact on it, but it's not like I don't enjoy the job and it was like pulling me away. It was just more of a mindful decision to mind myself first, to that I wasn't burning out on things. And
Because that can happen so easy when you're thrown into that.
Big time.
How did you find the role in Francis, as in like the head of small-sided games? Was it correct?
Small-sided director was the role, but
So how many teams were you over, and how was that kind of?
So it was the academy, and then from 8 up to, was it 12s?
12 is 9-side,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so still at 12s then as well.
So how many teams is that probably?
There was, say, two teams per age group.
Yeah.
It was 20 something, I think, overall.
How did you find that then, dealing with all different stakeholders, managers, parents?
That was the big, like, I hadn't really been on a role like that before. I'd ran the academy in Knockline when I was there, so I had the academy side of things, but that wasn't dealing with parents or the committee or anything. That was just more so like working with the coaches that were there and being organised. But when it came down to tough conversations with coaches, tough conversations with parents, and then you're trying to ultimately have the kids, like the players, as the central focus on that, and in terms of keeping them happy, keeping them enjoying their football. That's the main thing. And like, I don't mean tough conversations in like a negative way. It's just more having conversations with people, asking them the why, like, why are you doing that? with the team? Why aren't you? You know, what's the rationale for it? And some people find that like challenging, trying to explain themselves. Like, it feels like you're
It feels like
attacking them.
yeah.
But and it's not the case at all. It's just genuinely interested to see, because like you know yourselves with things. You can have a full on session plan done out with an idea in your head. Someone looks at it with no context and say, "What is he doing? Like what's the reason for doing that?" But you're fully able to explain it. But I'm sure you'd be more confident in explaining it than a dad who's just helping out doing a session. You know, maybe he saw something online and he thought, "Oh, that's a good idea." But for the most part, you know, they have always adapted it based on the players that they have, which is great. Like, that's all you want to see. You want, like, someone might take a drill that they see Guardiola doing.
We've thought about that before.
Yeah, exactly. They'll just copy and paste and do it, and you're like, you know, these 8-year-olds, they're falling over their own legs. They're not, you know, passing these balls through and doing overloads and everything. Like, but for the most part, you know, we weren't seeing that. We kind of set out some fundamentals at the start in terms of what we were looking for. All small-sided stuff, loads of touches on the ball, make sure the players are all moving, you know, try and avoid the lines and stuff like that. Just, you know, core basics, like have your rotations in there so everyone's playing every position, things like that. And I think when, you know, we didn't really have a lot of trouble in the club, like in terms of the coaches are all really receptive to things like that. There was kind of that intro bit where you're asking them what they're doing, why they're doing it, and then you have a little bit of hesitancy. But once they realise that you're just genuinely interested in it, and then I think the parents kind of picked up on that then as well. Like, we didn't have a whole lot of issues with parents. Naturally, you get, you know, issues that arise in clubs when you have so many kids there, and things happen. There's clashes of personalities and stuff like that. But for the most part, there was, you know, it was great, but definitely challenging from my perspective, going in, having not done something like that before. You're kind of taking experience from different areas. Like, you know, I worked in like the cinema before that. And
I was going to say, did you find it tough? Because you would have been, like, what are you the same age as me? You're 95?
97.
97,
Yeah.
you baby.
Jeez.
So you're what, 26?
young.
Nice.
27.
Nice,
27.
Jeff.
Yeah, still a few years left.
Love to
That's why
hear
I'm going back playing football.
He's back.
Love to
Still have a
hear
bit of
it.
energy in the knees.
So you like that, you're in your mid-20s talking to, or educating, I presume, like, parents pretty much,
Yeah.
and volunteer. Like, did you find that challenging? Because it's something I would say I would find challenging if I was doing coach ed for people who are just much older than me, much more life experience than me. How did you find that?
Yeah, like I definitely had like the doubts at the start, you know, that sort of thing when you're going in, you're like, oh, are they going to listen to me at all? But mostly you know, it was kind of a go in. The lads are like, look, we'll take all the help we can get. Like, you know what you're doing. The club are really supportive in that as well, in terms of kind of backing me on things. So, but you always had that kind of like self doubt piece, like, you know, do they want this, or am I just digging a hole here that I don't need to, and stuff like that. But not that I'm not the most like social person, like, I'm definitely good with talking to people and all that. Sometimes I just struggle to get across what I'm trying to ask people or what I'm trying to say. So sometimes I found like that was probably just misunderstandings maybe. But I think for the most part, like, all the coaches were really open to it. Again, you'd have one or two that probably resisted with things, or tell you what you want to hear, and then, you know, when you're not watching, they're out doing their own thing again, or same thing. But that's just the case then of you kind of educate everyone else around them as well. Like, if someone doesn't want to listen, you can't, like, they're grown adults, they can do what they want really at the end of the day. But if it's not the way that the club want to go with it, and, you know, it is causing issues, then maybe that's the difficult conversation that you need to have. But again, didn't, you know, might have happened with one or two, but didn't really happen
Yeah,
much.
it's kind of step by step, isn't it? As a club's culture gets better to what they want to refine everything to, either they kind of get, like, people kind of get pushed out by the internal group because everyone's forming to the consensus, or things just get escalated step by step. Again, kind of similar. People are kind of like, if the immediate staff don't like it, then it gets escalated to the director. If the director doesn't, or if the director agrees with the consensus, then it goes to the board and things kind of shift. I think you're lucky in Francis because not a lot of clubs can have a director of football anyway, but to have an overall director and then a small side director is excellent. The ideal process would probably be someone that is responsible for academy and transition. So like academy and then transition to small side.
Yeah.
Someone that's focused on 5 to 7. Someone that's focused on. I would argue you probably need someone that's focused on like the 12s, 13s, 14s, that early teenage period. So like from 9 aside to 11 aside.
That's a big one.
Yeah,
that 9
it is.
to 11 aside.
And personality is why.
Yeah.
Kids change like that. They go from like being
They come
the
back
happy-
after summer.
Yeah,
And
don't
they're
they?
another foot taller.
Yeah.
You know, shoulders are broader, voice
Menaces.
is deeper.
Yeah, and they're ready to push you and they'll push the boundaries. And I think you need to have a real there's a real personality, I think, in someone that can work with those sorts of players. And then you need someone who's like I would even argue as well, like even at that age, especially with a club like Francis in Dublin, like from 12s to 14s, you're kind of preparing lads for potentially, playing Premier football in that club or going to the National League. So,
Yeah.
and then you need someone that Crumlin do really well. Like for the lads that don't play National League, can you still have a home where it's a competitive football?
They always do that really well, I think.
Crumlin, yeah,
Gap,
really
National
good.
League ages.
Really, really good across the ages. And the lads bounce back late, like 19s, 20s,
Yeah.
which is such a great testament to the work that's done in those 3 to 4 years. But then you need someone that's in charge of that, because that should be the sole focus is, can I have a home for players that maybe aren't at that like top level, but still are excellent players, and we need to make sure they get challenged and we need to facilitate participation. But to do that like with 2 people, it's so difficult.
Big time.
Impossible even.
Yeah.
Like I remember we were chatting to Rory Kirk. It was a good mate of mine and Gary's who was in charge of the women's section for Shells, and like the stories that he was telling me about like organizing car parks and stuff. I was like, what type of work are you going to be able to do on a football perspective if you need to be like manning car parks and pick up the phone every couple of seconds? Like specialization is key, but again, it's just a resource issue.
I was chatting to one of the lads at work today, and I was saying that when I was in Francis, like doing that role, there was a stage I was like, "Do you know what? I need like a phone for this. I need to get like a work phone."
Yeah.
Because like that, I'm sure you have it as well with the team. Like people just constantly ring. You have parents, you have coaches, you have lads from the committee, whatever it is, and like it's like a full-time gig.
It is,
like
yeah.
genuinely is. But
That's what Rory was saying. Yeah.
and again, it's not like people hear that and they think, oh, it's all negative stuff. Like it really isn't. It's just conversations that need to be had or whatever. But it's
That's a football, is that? People don't get that. It's a 24-hour business.
Yeah.
Whether you're like that
Yeah.
in a role like that, whether you manage a team, whether you're the analyst of a team, like it's
There's too many moving cogs. Think about it. If you were to run a company of 20 people, how intense would that be? You're doing the exact thing with a team. Like there's no difference between, employing somebody or running a team of 20 people. It's the exact same mental capacity. It's the same amount of open threads in your head. I would even argue it's more difficult because, especially in underage football, you're not just working with like 20 players. You're working with a team of like, if children are lucky to have 2 parents, like it's literally like 3x, and you need to have a relationship with all of them.
yeah.
It's like running a company.
And I think that's what I like admire so much around like the international setups and like those more elite level like professional teams and all, with the amount of staff that's there, and like managers are they're obviously like the core element of it. So like I was involved with some of the Irish underage international teams, and you're seeing that like the managers there, and obviously their focus is like the players, but they also have the staff and they're looking after the staff. And there's so many staff. Like you have doctors, you have physios, you have S&C, you have analysts, you have ops. Like
just everything.
then you're worried about your 23, 24 players, and then you have like parents that are there as well, and then you're just making sure, like you're obviously in a foreign country, and like ridiculous amount that's going on, and you're kind of like that central cog to it all.
And then you got to try to win a match.
And then and that's before you even get to football.
Yeah.
Like that's I just think it's mad. I have so much admiration for that, and it's probably I haven't gone into like the management side of things yet, and it's something that I plan on doing obviously going forward, and that's why I've gone back playing, just to get that bit more experience in senior football. Like I played it a few years ago, and then went into the coaching side of things. Again, all underage stuff. So I want to go in again, just get a bit more experience playing in that senior setup and get the experience of it, and then obviously it should, in theory, make it easier then to kind of step into a senior coaching or managing role when you have a bit more kind of back into it, experience wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I understand. I think it's time to wrap up, Jeff, but I got something nice for you here.
Ooh,
Yeah,
present.
something very
like
nice.
the present
for
I
you.
got daily on the way in.
You didn't get me a
Oh, you
present.
got me a present, yeah.
What'd you get?
A UCD jacket.
The neck. Nice.
I give you a Francis one. I've won the car.
Boo.
Only joking, Francis. Only joking.
Nah. I bleed blue.
Team
That's
1
why.
hates Francis.
My arse. We actually donated
Oh, the boys went to the
the
Milk
team
Cup, yeah.
going to the Milk Cup.
Oh, deadly.
Shout out Mickey.
And we gave a few quid towards that. We had a few lads that have been with us for
Fair play to
years, so it was, I would say, a necessity, if I'm honest. I would thought
It's a great tournament, isn't it?
the Milk Cup, it's
We went twice, did we?
3 times.
I remember the third time.
Oh, definitely 3. I can,
Oh, maybe.
yeah, definitely 3. Yeah. This is a regular spot that we done, Jeff, on previous podcasts, especially with coaches. So I always like to do a little bit of digging and get someone to write a nice testimonial. So let me know what you think about this. So Jeff Lahart is an enthusiastic, inquisitive, and methodological football coach. Interesting. Who has taken a massive strides in the academic side of the game and successfully transferred his knowledge from all of the research he has attained in the library to best practice coaching on the grass. I, as a coach, have been fortunate enough during my own coaching and development to have shared space with Jeff, be it in the library or on the grass, and have found his approach to coaching the game incredibly informative and intentional. I love that word.
Intention's a great word.
Yeah, I've enjoyed each occasion I've worked with Jeff in training and in games.
It's a nice one, that.
Beautifully written.
Yeah. I have an idea who that is.
Yeah, he said it doesn't need to be anonymous at all, so you can
okay.
harbor a guess.
Was it Richie?
Yeah,
That was my guess as well.
yeah,
What a
No
man.
one else uses methodological like he does.
What a man.
yeah. I mean,
you
he's
wanna-
so well
Do you
written.
know a funny story about him? When we graduated, because we done the 1 year and he was doing a part-time, so he done the second year, but he came to our graduation. Do you remember he came from the library and he's standing there? There's literally a picture of him with all of us and he's holding like, what did he get? He had like a thing of food. Was it like kebab or something? And he's in his hand and we're all just out smiling in our gowns and all, and he's sitting there with his lunch in his hand.
Yeah, I
Love
think
him.
for context, the person who wrote that worked directly with Jeff at a team and knows Gary well as well, and knows me well.
He's a spoofer.
I was over in Malta with him there.
Yeah,
a few
saw
weeks
it,
Oh,
ago,
yeah.
I think Rob
at the
Lennon, was
wedding.
it?
Yeah. Deadly.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Some crack as well.
Nah, he's
But yeah,
deadly. He
what do
is
you think of
great.
those words?
Very nice. Now I have to say, like, it's, very much appreciated. It's I'm very happy with that. Obviously, it's nice to hear those things, and I think very Irish thing. You're very modest about people saying nice things about you, but it's always nice to hear that sort of stuff and stuff that you work towards as well. Like when you hear people saying it, like I definitely try and put the academic side of things into practical use on the pitch, and like it's been a few years obviously since me and Jeff have worked together, but we obviously stay in touch a lot on it as well. So it's very nice now, I have to say.
No, it's great. I mean, that was one thing I always liked about when you guys we used to deal with me and Gary were with the younger teams, is that there was always like a real shared sense of coaches community, and it's obviously nice that network has stayed, because I actually think it's quite important. I know we were talking earlier about like, especially Irish culture. It's very much like a bitch and moan session in football about like clubs, staff, whatever. But when you find someone that comes into like your shared network, it's very sticky, isn't it? Like
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a very sticky network. People look out for each other, and the two Jeffs and Rob are definitely in that category for us. So
That was a great old time, wasn't it? Up
It
in Marley,
was.
the windy evenings.
Oh,
I drove past it on the motorway. I couldn't see the pitch, but I was looking at the floodlights. I was like, because I obviously knew we were coming to chat. I was like, they were really good times.
Yeah.
Like really, really good times.
The chats like before and after training and all that just between the groups were great.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think there was good kind of challenge as well, like in again in the best possible way, like in terms of the stuff you would ask us and the stuff we'd ask you, and then everything was very open. And because I like, other than you in college, I didn't know you was going into any of that. And even like Rob and Jeff and Ronan, like I again didn't really know them going into that. Like I was
Did I meet you at UC first or on the course? The course.
It was on the course, yeah.
Yeah, because I would
And-
only been going into UC 13. I think it was
It's November
first year in UCD.
2019.
And
Yeah.
Jeff as well, because Jeff did the diploma in the undergrad with. He started it, but we were only in like a couple of lectures together.
Oh, okay.
So when we started the masters, we started chatting a bit more. And I was with Shells at the time, and I was traveling over and back.
Yeah,
doing
you're
50,
South-
like
Oh, and he
Head,
was
aren't you?
involved with Rob, wasn't he?
he was with
Yeah,
Rob
yeah,
already,
yeah.
yeah. And then they needed another coach in, and like I was based out of UCD anyway. They were training on Fridays, we'd lectures on Fridays and stuff
Yeah,
like
it's
that. And like,
handy,
it was
yeah.
only Marley was. Sure, you know, we used to go to Marley together after
Yeah,
when I was
yeah.
working in Maynooth, like, and it's only 10 minutes up the road from me.
Oh yeah, because you were Rottweiler, haven't you? I remember you
He
were
used to,
Rottweiler.
yeah, unfortunately, he's
Oh, no.
gone. Yeah,
Oh,
but
bless
it's
him.
yeah, that was how I ended up there. Like, and that was a great old time. Now I'd say that was a great group. Like,
Yeah, because I remember Gary used to have those stories. Ah,
oh
gosh.
yeah, I was only thinking about it. You'd be coming in into the gaff, wasn't it? After?
Yeah,
Would he
that's
finish
correct.
up
That's
work?
6 years ago, right? 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we the Masters was 2018 to 2019, wasn't it? 1 year. 2018.
Yeah, it was 2019 finish, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was mad.
Mm-hmm.
I was chatting to a few of the lads there recently.
Wild amount of time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that's what football's great for, especially when you find great coaches. You have a tendency to stick with them for a long periods of time, which is a good and a bad thing because you can kind of get like that groupthink mentality. But all you need is like a couple of additional people coming in. Like even, for example, I didn't work with any of Gary's new staff in UCD, but like we went out to watch the FA Cup final, and now they're just in like that bigger circle
Yeah,
again. Like
yeah.
obviously, the guy that Gary shouted out to at the middle of the podcast, Dylan Hennessy, I wouldn't have known him until he was in the lads. Like so.
You don't want to know.
But like that's important. I mean, even for people that are listening. Like the football circles, you know, although there's big boundaries with it, and you want to, you know, you don't like a lot of people or whatever for all that bullshit. But when you actually have people in the circle, it's a great feeling.
It's where you get your staff from. Like, if you were to take over a team or whatever, like you're gonna go to your circle straight away. Like, there's very few that will kind of go on someone that they don't know, and if you don't know them, you ring someone, and they'll know them. Like,
100%.
I think you said that on it.
Especially in Ireland.
He did,
Yeah.
yeah. Gary said it in the
said
podcast.
it
a few weeks
It's
ago,
such a
yeah.
small network, you know?
Yeah, even players too. Like I don't
That's
think they
it.
realize that like you're going to be known somewhere. If you're in and around the leagues or whatever, everyone's going to know.
Word travels so fast. Like,
Yeah.
I was coaching DDSL football last year, and we had lads like training with other teams and stuff like that, just getting a feel for
Yeah.
where they should be. And we knew before they were in the car on the way home from the training session that they were up there. Like,
Oh,
it's
hilarious, isn't it?
it's so quick how things, and then you're asking them and they're not saying it. You're kind of like,
I remember, I'll leave us with this. I remember a story when I was working in the DSL with a club, and it was Premier, and then like within Whitehall, there's like 4 main clubs, like in and around that like triangle, and we had like a couple of players in a decent Premier side, and I think there was like, you know, it was like tapping up between different clubs now. So when the players were meant to go train with another team, I got like a phone call before they even made it to the pitch of the other team. Like that's how quick
Yeah.
word travels, which is ridiculous when you think about it. I mean,
Yeah.
they're kids, like who
Like
gives
that,
a shit?
yeah, exactly.
Like really, like looking back, and I was like, Jesus Christ! But
You were
you're
fuming, right?
at the time, I mean, like football was everything back then.
Yeah.
Like especially like early 20s when you're really trying to give it a crack for a career. It's all you know. Like it was college and football. That was it. Like so you're gonna be all in regardless of what it is, you know. But yeah, we'll be here all night. So thank you very much, Jeff. I really appreciate you coming on.
lads, appreciate it.
There's quality.
Gary and Gabriella,
Yeah.
you can decide who's who.
Legend. God bless.
Peace. Yes.